coffee break with me. Come and take your coffee break with me. Come and take your coffee. Come and take your coffee. Come and take your coffee break with me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with Candace. I'm your guest host, David Marino, and I have an awesome guest today. It's somebody that I consider a friend. We used to be roommates back in the day. He is a philanthropist, a TV journalist, a motivational speaker. He founded the nonprofit Go Inspire Go, which really focused on telling the stories of everyday heroes. He's been a regular blogger for the Huffington Post. He's been featured in Forbes magazine and a number of other publications. So without further ado, I want to welcome Toan Lam to our show. Toan, I'm so happy to have you today.
David, I can't tell you how excited I was to do this. I mean, I've done like a bajillion interviews, like people have interviewed me. I've interviewed a lot of people, but I was super excited about this because you're one of my favorite humans and one of my, I won't tell other people, but you're one of my favorite roommates.
Well, thank you. You're same. I feel exactly the same about you. And I'm glad that we reconnected and we spoke before we were going to do this interview. But I've followed your career throughout the years, and I've always been moved and just inspired by you, which it's awesome that you have Go Inspire Go that you founded, because I always feel like you followed your passion, which I know is a big key word with you. So tell me first a little about Go Inspire Go, because I know that was something that you did many years ago, and now you're doing a number of other things as well. But can you talk more about that?
Thank you first and foremost for like seeing me and for following me. I believe that you said the word passion. And I'm very careful about that word nowadays, because one thing I've realized is that it's not, passion is such like a big word, right? It's scary for people. And it's like, oh, where do I start? What's my passion? Right. But instead I say I follow my curiosity. And I've always have followed my curiosity. And when you follow your curiosity, exciting things happen. And what I mean by curiosity is that it's the thing that excites you. Like, as you can see, like I have this beautiful like thing of flowers. I just like put it together. I call it a gift from God, but it was just like from my backyard. And every day I wake up and on, I'm like, oh my God, wow, there's new flowers. Oh! And then I put that together and I was just like in this flow. And, one of the things that, thank you so much for that long list of things. I just feel like I still have so much more to do. But when I hear people talk about, the accomplishments and stuff, I'm just like, wow, like I just want to like pause for a moment and think like, wow, there's a lot of things that I've followed my curiosity. And one of the things that I love doing too is, for me, I just love finding beauty in the world. And whether that be a story, whether it be interior design, whatever that is, I just kind of follow that. And then you start meeting amazing people. And, Oprah, I'm a big Oprah follower, and I've watched her every single episode since I was a little boy. And, as she says, like she believes in this thing called divine timing and divine order. And it's just divine timing and order that we reconnected, right? But back in the day, y'all, when I met David, we were both sort of fledgling reporters in Midland, Odessa, Texas. You just have this like way with like your confidence and with words and things. And so I've always looked up to you that way. But, inside my heart, I've always known that there was a bigger purpose, because every time I was on air as a TV reporter, reporting the local news, it was like death and destruction. And that's so not me. But what I loved about it was the excitement of telling stories and meeting people. So there was a seed planted, and there was an intention inside my soul that I wanted to use the power of connecting with people and stories for a greater purpose. And so I've always listened to and paid attention to the stuff that people say in and around me. It's not like I always take it for, like, oh, if you say I suck, then I suck. But I always just pay attention. And one of the things when I was out doing stories, people always pitch me like inspiring stories. They just thought that, like when you meet people pre-interview, you like chat it up, and they're just like, well, you seem really inspiring, or they might already know my story because I was a public figure. in the, in the local, city I was reporting in. And, I've always just, listened to that. And people were like, what about this story? What about the little 5-year-old little girl who wanted to collect aluminum cans to feed the hungry people through the food bank? And, I just had the opportunity when I was a TV reporter in San Francisco. I also was a freelancer, which allowed me the freedom to like start going out and do other things and, freelance at other places. And so, you know what, an intern and I sat at a coffee shop and I was just like, I want to tell stories that inspire people to not only be better, but do better. And so we had this idea about creating this it became a nonprofit, but honestly, I just wanted to tell stories. I didn't have a business plan, nothing. I didn't even have a team. It was just me and this volunteer intern at the station and Catherine. And I remember sitting there and I was just like, go inspire, go here, get inspired, and then go and use your power to give back. And essentially the idea was to tell stories about everyday heroes. And at the end of all the videos and blogs, there'd be 3 action items on what you could do to be the hero yourself and use your power to give back. And then it just grew into this crazy, amazing nonprofit for over 10 years with over 150 people that had volunteered.
In the times that we're in today, I feel like people are craving positive stories and they're looking for inspiration. Do you find that to be true, even from what you've heard from people that you talk to? And as somebody that has been inspired by and also inspires, is that something that you think is very relevant in the times we're living in today?
More relevant than ever, I believe, but it's always been relevant. And the cool thing about these stories is that when you watch it, sure, the numbers have changed. Like the girl fed over 200, or she was able to, Phoebe Russell, 5-year-old girl who collected enough cans and donations to feed over 200,000, to give out 200,000 meals. That number has exponentially grown, but still the story of giving and using your power. She could collect cans and she could write letters to family members, and that's what she could do. She used her power. That story is universal forever and ever, and I think that since the beginning of time, people just want to help people, I believe. I think, we are all born good people. And, I've always said that. And not to plug Oprah's new book thing that she wrote, but essentially I used to always ask this question, and it's a recent question that she asked. It's like, instead of saying, why are they like that? Like when you see people that are ratchet or you see people that do bad things, instead I've always asked, what happened to you? And I remember, if I could share with you a really quick story about, I did this story of this ex-gang member for Homeboy Industries, and Homeboy Industries is run by this pastor in LA, really bad part of LA. I think it's like East LA. This is a long time ago. And he created this company called Homeboy and Homegirl Industries, where he had a Homeboy Cafe. And basically it was people that were re-emerging back into society that went to prison, and he found jobs for them because they couldn't find jobs, and they would go to his parish or whatnot and like ask him, hey, I need a job. And so I remember interviewing this like big buff thug looking guy, tattoos everywhere, like just the kind of the stereotypical what you think a thug would look like. And it was a bit at first I was like, whoa, like it was a bit not overwhelming, but I was like kind of intimidated by him, right? But I looked him straight in the eye and I was like, why did you mug these people and hurt them? Like what happened? I really believe that we're all good people, but what happened to you? And so he started breaking down. I saw his 5-year-old boy again. And I remember him saying that when I was a little boy, gangs were my family. I was a latchkey kid. My mom went to work, and my mom came back one day and she saw that I was playing with matches, and she took both of my 5-year-old hands and she put them on the burner and burned them. And then he's like, went to sleep with my hand in the toilet because it was cold water. And I've just always believed in humanity and that we inherently want to do good and we want to be better and do better. But we need examples, and so we're able to do over 70 stories. The stories have been seen on major networks and stuff. And um, each and every hero that I saw reflected back in me, like what more can I do? What talents do I have? What talents do you have, you guys at home that are watching? I mean, you and I think one of our gifts is to inspire people through storytelling. And so you're doing that here now. And that's what I just was like hungry and eager to do. And for those of you guys at home watching, it's just like that now that, the vaccines, we've been in this pandemic for a year and a half, there's vaccines finally come out. It's just like, oh, like we are brimming right now with curiosity and creativity. And it's just like, use that. If you're good at math, if you're good at reading and writing, whatever, just use that to help other people. Even if it's like small. I was just talking to a friend today about like this small act. And that's all the stories were one small act that led to something bigger than they could have ever imagined. So it's just take that baby step and just, if you can read to kids in school once a month, and do that. Or go to old folks home, read to them once a month. Just we all have the power to kind of inspire and be better and do better.
What I think is really important that you said is it doesn't have to be this huge thing that you're doing. I think a lot of times we, at least myself even doing this, like this guest hosting, I was nervous to do this, but I always knew that I wanted to do more storytelling and to interview people like yourself. But the fear of, oh, what if I'm not good enough? And I feel like that creeps into people's minds, and they know that they have gifts, but it's taking those really small steps that it's so hard for people sometimes. What would your advice be to those that they are brimming, but they're a little afraid to maybe show others that they have certain gifts, or maybe they're afraid of, I think the biggest thing that prevents anybody from moving forward is they get that fear of failure in their head and then they don't do anything, which is worse than, I feel, failing, whatever that is. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, failure is defined to me by just being too afraid to do anything. Because if you do something, you're already doing it, right? You know what I'm saying? So like if you take that step, and like right now you are, guest hosting this show. So now you are a podcast host or a talk show host or whatever, right? But that baby step, and I think that, we are so worried about what other people think. I think that if you get older and you've done the work, I call it the spiritual work, and whether it be journaling, meditating, having conversations with people, you give, I don't want to cuss, but you care a lot less of what people think, right? But for those of you guys out there that are like really want to do something but are afraid, like guess what, we all are afraid, but don't be paralyzed by your failure. Like use that failure, that nervousness, to propel you forward.
But one of the things that we talked about offline that I also think is important to mention in growth, and I think you hope that we're all evolving, right, over time through our own experiences, whether they're good, bad, or in between. But I think it's really important to honestly be happy for other people when they're accomplishing their goals and doing well. I know that there was a time in my life when there was a lot of jealousy over people doing well, because it felt like, well, I'm not where I should be. I should be ahead of them. And nothing good comes out of that. And I feel like, at least for me, as I've gotten older, I've learned to, like, I look around and see all these talented people around me, people that are my friends, and I think, wow, like for you, you're an example of that. And I just think I embrace those people now because they help me get better at things, or even just recognize in myself things I didn't know I had, or strengths I didn't know I had. And so the moment that I started doing that and being less jealous or wishing I had somebody else's life, things started changing. And there's so much power in that. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but TV news is very competitive. It's very easy to get upset when somebody gets something that you wanted or you felt like you deserved. And I've just let that go. We all have our moments, and I'll tell you, I'm a work in progress, as we all are. And we all have those moments when we revert back to that. But I'll tell you, since I've started living in a different way when it comes to that, things have changed. Do you find that to be true even for yourself or what you've heard from others?
I think when you see other people, instead of being like, this is one of the spiritual laws that I've learned is when you feel that envy and jealousy, like think about, do some shadow work. Like, why do you feel that way? You know what I mean? And what's the deeper cause? Like, when honestly, when my friends now get jobs at whatever like job that I may have wanted, I'm just like excited for them as though I got it. And one of the things that I learned is that just to like do some work around whether it's journaling or talking to a close friend about like, why do you feel that way? Like, where does that hate come from? Because like, I know you're not a hater, David, because, we have celebrated together our achievements, but I think that when you celebrate other people, your vibration changes. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, then it might motivate you to then start looking. You have this desire to look for something that you've always wanted to do.
Have you always wanted to be a storyteller? I mean, as a child, can you give me a little like hint as to, was that something that you always knew that was your gift, or did you write stories when you were young? How did you come to realize that, even before you got into television, that was something that was very important to you?
Oh, that's such a good question. I always tell people when they come to me for like, whether it's some, tutelage, spiritual guidance, whatever, just to talk. I always ask them to do like, work with their little boy, little girl. And the little boy one is like what you see here. It's the colors, it's the blooms, it's the excitement and creating, right? And so I think for me, to backtrack real quick, it's like we came to America. I'm Chinese, born in Vietnam, but we came to America when I was 8 months old. After the fall of Saigon, we came to America. My parents were pretty wealthy. They gave everything up, and we ended up in South Sacramento with $10 in our pockets. No, $4 in our pockets, 10 of us in a trailer park, 10 of us, okay, in South Sac. And I tell that story because that, as a child, it's just like, I love to read and write and talk, and I don't know where it came from. But again, my parents were like doctor, lawyer, engineer, those make money to them. And my heart was just in like, I watched LeVar Burton reading Rainbow, like as a kid. And I just got excited about like that books were this passport into this dream world. And I really think that books were my passport out of that situation of growing up and not feeling seen and heard, and like, in bad neighborhoods. I've had, friends that were shot and killed. And, growing up, I remember that I would read shampoo bottles and I'd be like, in the shower, rinse, lather, repeat. I'd like lower my voice, methyl paraben, and things like that. I was just like so excited about reading aloud, and I don't know why. So much to the point where like I was an avid reader and I read pretty much every single children's book out there to date, when I was a kid. And I remember my brother would be like, shut up, your voice is so annoying, and I would set up my little stuffed animals and like read to them as I was presenting to them. So I always knew that I was like, I want to, a good mentor told me, you work most of your life, so make sure you do something that you enjoy because it won't feel like work. And that is so true. And so I thought, I just want to read, write, and talk for a living. And so I thought, maybe if I set my intention, I didn't know that was the word, but I was like, maybe a print reporter. I wanted to like tell stories, or like a magazine reporter, and I ended up doing TV reporting. I always wanted to teach, and at the college level with that specificity, because when I was growing up, nobody had their college degree yet in my family. So I wanted to teach at the college level. I ended up teaching at 2 universities. And then I always wanted to nonprofit. That was just a whole extra thing. But I always wanted to then, run scripts to LeVar Burton, because I've learned so much from reading Rainbow, and I ended up co-hosting a show on PBS. And I just think that if you have this dream, as we're kind of slowly blooming again with spring, with all these yummy opportunities and with life, I don't want to say post-pandemic yet because we ain't there yet, but if you just take those baby steps and just, even if you just, I'm a big fan of like writing down, like I have journals everywhere around here, But when you write stuff down, it becomes real.
You actually were, before the pandemic, were looking at launching a talk show, and you did do that to an extent there on the West Coast. I would love to see that for you in a big way. You know, I would love to see you everywhere, like be the next Ellen or Oprah. Where are you with that? And give me a little background as to how that came to fruition.
So what happened was, a couple of TV executive friends, producers in big, in San Francisco, bigger market, they were like, you know what, you need to reach out to Oprah. Oh, you need to do your own show. Have you reached out to Oprah? This and that. And the funny thing is, then I started meeting some people who were like super high level at what they do, and they were just like, let's just film the Toan Lam show. Because what you are is you're a beautifier. You beautify people when you meet them. And I thought that was just the biggest gift. It's kind of like, I don't want to say I got the Midas touch, but it's just like a lot of people. I just was listening, and they're just like, you know what? After I talked to you, you recharged my battery. You know what I mean? And I just paid attention to that, and then all of a sudden, there's dozens of people that came together, including this like beautiful place where we had the set. Of the show. And it was, we filmed 6 episodes of the Toan Lam show. And essentially the show was about exactly what we're talking about now. It's about, when you Google people, these people, you're like, oh my God, like that, she was like Miss America. Oh my gosh, he has this like huge, ginormous sandwich chain, or, whatever it is. Like they look all amazing, and they are amazing. But what you don't see are the zigs and the zags and the ups and the downs and all arounds and the fear, everything we've talked about, right? The self-doubt and, what will people say about me, all that. And so I opened them up, and we have this like real juicy conversation just about being at rock bottom and then picking yourself back up. Because we all, if you have hope and your breath, it's a good day. And never lose sight of that hope. And every day is a gift. And so anyway, so we filmed 6 episodes. We're about to like send it out to see if this syndicator would take all the stuff, and then COVID happened. But I've always thought, you know what? I was actually really okay with it. It's not the actual show that I believe. Like I'll never need to be on air. That's fine. But I always need to somehow tell stories, right? And whatever it manifests to be, I just encourage people to look at that. Only the highlights reel is available right now, but to look at that and to feel the energy in the room, the excitement in the room, and feel the excitement on stage, and feel for the people, but also celebrate, their triumphs, and cry with their tragedies. So where is it at now? We are recalibrating right now, and again, putting ourselves out there, connecting with people.
How do you stay positive? Because not every day is a great day, right? We're human. We have things that happen. How is it that you take those things that maybe didn't necessarily work the way you wanted them to in your life, but you turn it around? Because I think we can all get stuck in a place that isn't, productive if we focus too much on what hasn't gone well.
My career has not been straight up trajectory. Like basically, if you're in a TV, as a TV reporter, you go to small city or small market, medium market, and the big market. And then when I had my opportunity to go to, I was in the big market, San Francisco, and had an opportunity to go to a network or to interview for a network. I was like, nah, I don't even want that, and just following that in my heart. I think that you just gotta listen to your inner GPS. How are you feeling? Are you feeling jealousy? Are you feeling angry a lot? And then go do that little boy, little girl work. I mean, whether that be journaling or, I had a talk with a friend who's like a spiritual teacher about like nurturing that little Toan that thought he was fat, that thought he was ugly, that thought he was not enough, and just sitting there with the ickiness and working through that. And part of it is journaling, part of it is conversations. And for me, I'm big on setting intentions. So everything I do, I always think, what is my intention to do this? And I know that's something that Oprah does too. And it just sounds like just a lot of big words, but really, I set my intention every morning. I get up, and I either sit in silence. I call it meditation. For me, there's a time to manifest with the sun as a sun, new day, and all that. When you just sit and set that intention in the morning, it just kind of recalibrates and makes you then start focusing on stuff you're grateful for. And people do gratitude journals. I love gratitude journals. Sometimes I fall into it, sometimes I fall out of it. There's apps for that too. But when you focus on being grateful and you set that ritual to start your morning with a little bit of quiet time, a little bit of you time before the world gets at you, then you start to recalibrate when things happen. When somebody says a bad word, or screams at you at work, or, hopefully not work, but, in public, or you get a bad comment on social media, or whatever it is, whatever life challenges you face, you then start to see that for the challenge that it's here to teach you. And once you learn it, you move forward, and your perspective shifts. And that's a beautiful thing about storytelling.
Is there anything else that you would like to add to today's conversation?
You know what? I think as we are re-emerging from this crazy pandemic, I heard somewhere, this is not coming from me, that the pandemic is like we're all put in the same storm, but we're all in different boats. Everybody is going through something. I don't care if you're rich and you're famous, or you're a CEO, or like whatever society you think is successful. Just know that we're all going through something. And what is, I encourage you to think, what is this trying to teach me, and how do I share it? And, take baby steps with whatever that passion is, or, if you use that word, or curiosity is, and then share that with other people. That's the deliciousness of life, is sharing that with people, right? And just do it. Just do it, and baby steps. And I promise you, you'll be better off, and you won't be a failure, because failure is just being too afraid to do it. But when you do it, there's some magic that happens. And the magic could also be that you did it and you're like, actually, that's not for me, but let me do this instead. And just ease and flow, find ease and flow. And then you'll just see all these people and opportunities that arise to support your best self.
Thank you, Toan. I think that's a great note to end on. It's a great positive message. And I want to thank you again for joining me today. This has been an awesome conversation, and I hope that people can take something away from it and hopefully use it for their own benefit, and take whatever risk or chance that you haven't taken yet and run with it.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for your time. And I'm so proud of you for doing this.